This is Liz Colburn, host of The Morning Uplift. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Sam Kirby, host of Cinema Stories here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Cinema Stories, where we hang out and just talk movie and TV news and reviews, and it's awesome. A new show comes out every single Tuesday. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Cinema Stories. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Yo, and hello, everyone. This is Hollywood Happy Place. Welcome. I am Gerry Straus, and it is great to be with you. It is great for you to be here as well. Thank you for that. Thanks to my buddy Baxter Colburn, who helped out last week with the introduction to the show. I've been under the weather and without a voice for what feels like 87 years. So when it came time to do the show last week, I just couldn't even get through the couple of minutes it would take to talk to you guys at the beginning of the show. So he was able to do that, and then, hopefully you're able to enjoy my chat that I'd previously had and recorded with another great friend of mine, fitness icon Denise Austin, who is there to both brighten our days and also make us feel very, very guilty for being less fit and less positive than she is. And we all are, because there's nobody on the level of Denise Austin. But it was great to talk to her. Of course, amidst this holiday season, great timing. Always cool to get those positive vibes flowing as we head into the holidays. Before we get into it this week, I've got a great chat with one of the coolest people on the planet, both artistically, musically, inspirationally. You know her, you love her. Her name is Jewel, and we'll get right to that in a minute, but I want to thank all of you for continuing to support and listen to and check out and tell friends about the show. Please keep doing that. We want to get as many people subscribed to our show on iTunes and checking it out wherever you may find it most convenient. Of course, shout out to Public House Media for being our family, our team, and really driving the success and the quality of this show. So thanks to everyone at Public House for everything that you guys have been doing each and every week, all the way down to the snazzy logo. I really like our logo. I look and I go, man, I like that. That is something. Because of the hard work of those guys and because of you and your support, I'm proud to announce that we are now a part of the iHeartRadio family as well. You can check us out through iHeartRadio. Of course, you can continue to do so through iTunes as well, Google Play, Alexa, I believe, Spreaker, wherever big-time podcasts are. We are shoulder to shoulder with them, and again, that's all because of you guys. So thank you. On to our guest this week. She's one of the busiest people in entertainment, especially these days, because she is embarking on a holiday tour. That's right. She is coming to a city, to a theater near you, and she is bringing the whole fam along, her father and the whole Kilcher family, Jewel Kilcher. We've known her since she broke out in the 90s, Who Will Save Your Soul, etc., etc., etc. She has one of the most famous rags to riches stories, basically migrating herself from Alaska down to the West Coast and being essentially homeless as she chased her dreams and finding her way to a life-changing record deal that has made her one of the preeminent voices and writing voices as well creatively in music ever since then. You know her from her acting. She's a part of a lot of Hallmark projects, movies and TV shows and such. She's basically done everything there is to do in entertainment. She's published poetry, written her book. She runs her website that is separate from her music career and is all about the idea of emotional wellness. And we get into that here as certainly someone that all of us can look to for those positive vibes and maybe some tips on how to live a more well-balanced, happier life and to find that happiness, that contentment that we all have in our lives if we just look hard enough. So let's not wait any longer. It was definitely a privilege to get some of her time during these busy months, but always cool to talk to Jewel.
How actually are you? Because I've been spending time catching up on all the things that are going on this holiday season for you. And I mean, I know most of us are stressed because we have to cook a turkey or we have to have some family over for dinner, but you've got so much going on. What's the stress level like for you?
I actually have been building businesses based on mindfulness because as a child who moved out at 15 and then became homeless at 18 and started having panic attacks and became agoraphobic and was shoplifting, I realized that if I didn't learn how to be the driver of my brain versus my brain driving me, that I was in for certain doom. And you look at this idea of nature versus nurture, and if I received poor nurture, could I re-nurture myself to get to know my nature? And so there's a concept I started tinkering around with at a fairly young age and developing a lot of exercises to help me stop panic attack cycles, to help me learn to observe my thoughts in real time. And it's actually what I'm building business and curriculum, oddly enough, around now outside of the music space. One of the reasons I'm doing this holiday tour is because my company lives by certain values, and some of those values are creating connection, fostering community, and self-agency. And so in everything that I do, whether it's in music or outside of music, is really about those hallmarks. And so with this Christmas tour, I had to task myself of how can I use this to go even further than just music. And that's why I did the handmade holiday tour concept, was to allow community to come together and discover one another, where you can meet people you might not have known around a table as you learn how to peyote bead stitch, to create an experience as a gift in itself that you can share with your family, and then to help create and foster self-agency by teaching people how to do things and how to make gifts for one another. And so I've been really excited about it. This is my first time doing it, and it'll be my family and I singing in the evening. My family was raised on a homestead. They're on a show called The Last Frontier. Mm-hmm. And this is how I was raised. You know, I was raised, we were very poor, but we made gifts for one another, and we never felt sad at the holidays. It was actually an incredibly fun and creative time, and I want to give that and share that to other people. All that said, I am used to touring around holidays, and my son gets to be on the road with my dad and my two brothers, which getting us all together like that is really special for me. And I get to do something that creates connection and self-agency with my child, because we have all these crafting things that he's doing for Christmas on tour, and I get to do it with and for community at large. So I'm doing good. I'm happy.
That's great. I mean, most people love the idea of hanging out with their family and during the holidays on paper, and then when it gets closer to it, there's that inherent, oh man, I actually have to deal with these human beings. But I mean, it sounds like your family is ready to spend some good quality holiday time together. Is it going to be interesting for you guys to be able to experience that in a bunch of different locations, in climates that certainly aren't necessarily reflective of your time growing up in Alaska around the holidays? I mean, I expect that you're going to see some warmer days here and there. That'll be interesting, right?
I'm all for that. Thank you. I'm all for warmer climates than wet, cold, dark Alaska. Winter was never the darkest part of winter was always hard. Most families, I do feel fortunate. I grew up in a very talented family with a lot of pluses but there were definitely a lot of minuses that my family had to work through and overcome. My family, oddly, has made this amazing journey from very dysfunctional to functional, and to tighter knit than we were as children. And I'm very grateful for that. It's because everybody's worked hard to learn new emotional languages, if you will. So yeah, we actually enjoy spending time together more than we did when we were kids, which is pretty unusual. And I feel very lucky for that.
It's interesting when you talk about that, and you talk about, your company and all the different things that you're involved in. And, looking back to the days when you were just trying to make it in music, which is a daunting thing in any walk of life for anybody. Did you ever, at that point in your life, look ahead and think that you'd have the opportunity to branch off into all these other directions? I mean, you are now a star of the Hallmark Channel, and so many different ways that we've gotten to know Jewel over even the past couple of years alone. It seems like there's just been so much of you all over the place in a very quality ways. Is it surprising to you at this point in your life, or would it have been surprising to you back then, I should say, that you've been able to successfully find ways to reach people in all these different ways?
It was my hope. When I was 18, I had a pretty sober view of what I was up against. And if I was able to achieve, the impossible, which is break folk music at the heights of grunge, I know nothing's forever. I come from a ranch, so there's always seasons. There's low cycles, there's up cycles, there's fallow fields, there's productive fields. And so I took a very, very long view at how do you maintain creativity over 60 years, over 50 years, over 40 years, where a lot of songwriters fail, novelists succeed. And so looking at that as a model, as well as being very entrepreneurial. I think being raised in Alaska by pioneers, where we had to constantly rely on ourselves to come up with solutions and how to innovate to survive, gave me a natural entrepreneurial mindset. And so I've always enjoyed that. I've always enjoyed looking at the music business like that. And as the music business has continued to get disrupted, looking for opportunities, because I don't think it's any one thing that defines me other than my core values, other than my nature, who and what makes me me. Music's an extension of that. But so is a crafting, fair. So is a mindfulness curriculum for toddlers. They're all based on my nature of who I am at my core. And I really enjoy trying. It's not being tied to the result. You can't control how these things will turn out. But you can gauge zeitgeist, you can look at culture, you can see where you intersect, hopefully, with culture in an authentic way, and you can take swings, and I enjoy that.
Is there anything, I mean, and again, you're conquering so many worlds now, is there anything that you still hope to move in a certain direction that you haven't tried yet? Anything that you're looking towards in the next year or beyond that we could expect to see from Jewel besides everything you've already got going on?
Well, I haven't conquered. I'm just winding up and coming to that. And so I have to make the mindfulness curriculum for children work. I'm also doing it for public schools in English class. I'm doing a B2B business with Zappos to help create business tools through the lens of mindfulness. It's ambitious. I'm putting everything I have behind it because it's what interests me. I have no idea if he'll succeed or not. So I wouldn't say I'm conquering. I'm just saying I'm seeing myself up for what I hope is success. But I still have to go out and do it and build it. And I'm having a blast doing it. I will still make music. I'll be working on a record this summer. I'm doing some Hallmark movies, a fixer-upper series for them. So I'm definitely busy, especially considering I spend half my day being a mom. So this is what I try and do in the other half.
Wow. Yeah. So I know your time is limited, but I wanted to ask you before I let you go. You've kind of bounced around with different projects related to Johnny Cash over the years. You started as Jude Carter in a movie, and from what I had read, you had been or are working on an album that's essentially finishing the songs, helping to finish writing some of the songs that Johnny Cash had started. Is that a project that's still in the works, or?
It is. Their son, June and Johnny's son, John Carter, and I became friends when I did the movie about his mother. And he asked me to be part of an album and gave me 2 songs to write of Johnny's, which is unbelievable. Who would ever think you would get a co-write with Johnny Cash?
Right.
And one of those will be on the record. And I don't know its release date, but yeah, I wrote 2 and got to record 2. It was a lot of fun.
That's really cool. Is that, I mean, through the projects, and I'm sure, knowing and being a fan before that, like, do you feel a kindred spirit with the work and the person that Johnny Cash was, when you look at yourself as a person, as an artist?
I think I've always had a real rebel approach toward music. It might sound funny to a casual observer, a casual fan, but, I was opening for the Ramones when I was a kid, solo acoustic, singing I'm Sensitive, and getting fans to jump over the partitions to come up and push past the security guards. I've had to find a way to cut through, and you don't do that without being willing to figure out how to provoke people in a way that's in line with your values, and to be irreverent in a way that for me is in line with my values. And I've always had a very contrarian viewpoint. I don't like the status quo if it isn't authentic. And I will challenge status quo if it isn't authentic, and if it doesn't smell right to me. And I think that's been a large fuel source for my music and for my community, as they learn how to not just accept status quo, but how to fight for their own humanity and what makes them happy individually. And so it's been a blast being able to do what I've done and go where I've gone and take the amounts of time off I have, and learning how to fuel creativity, which is you have to have a tremendous appetite, voracious appetite to fuel the headwaters for any kind of output. And my fans have allowed me to go on a lot of journeys that have kept me interested in my life, that I hope will give me a longevity, but we'll see.
Cool. Well, Jewel, thank you for taking the time. I know your head is going 18 different directions at once. We thank you for spending some time with us. Before we let you go, of course, you can check out all the information on everything going on, and of course, the Handmade Holiday Tour. That's on. You can check it out at JewelJK.com. But just leaving us. You've got a very specific vibe planned for this tour, as you discussed before. What is your hope for how people will feel when they walk out of one of your shows this holiday season?
I hope people have a sense of connection, community, and having learned something, and being entertained.
Yeah, can't ask for more than that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.